What is up, YouTube? Dots Gaming here, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys my crafting guide for the Elder Scrolls Online. So I made a crafting guide way back when I started ESO that covered a lot of the basics of crafting, but I really felt that the video needed an update and more importantly needed to be expanded upon. So not only will today's video cover the basics of crafting in ESO, but I'm also going to show you the best ways to level all of the various crafting lines. So like I said, we're going to start with a basic overview as well as kind of dive in a little bit deeper and then move into the leveling process, both power leveling and more extended leveling if it's your first character. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Before I start with you guys on the crafting basics, I want to answer one question that I get asked a ton in regards to crafting, and that is if you need a dedicated crafting character or if it can be accomplished on one toon, have all your crafting professions on one character, as well as be able to play that character. And the answer is yes. It is possible to get all of your crafting professions maxed out on your main character and have them playable for combat. There's absolutely enough skill points in the game to accomplish that. So if that is a concern of yours, don't even worry about it. Now, most people, when they eventually make multiple characters, will have that first character still be their main crafting character, but if you only tend to want to play one character, you don't have to worry about making a second toon for crafting only. Now, with that out of the way, we're going to move into the basics of crafting, started with our three base game gear crafting lines, and that is woodworking, blacksmithing, and clothing. Woodworking deals with the creations of shields, staves, and bows. Blacksmithing is the creation of heavy armor and metallic weapons such as one-handed and two-handed swords, axes, and maces. And clothing deals with light and medium armor creation. We also have our consumable crafting lines, such as enchanting, provisioning, and alchemy. Enchanting involves, you guessed it, the creation of enchants for gear and armor. Provisioning deals with the creation of buff food, which is essential to every character's build. And alchemy, which is the creation of potions. The final crafting profession, which was added in the Somerset chapter, is jewelry crafting, which you also guessed it, deals with the creation of jewelry for your character. These skill lines all gain experience through what is called inspiration, which is just a fancy name for the XP that levels up these skill lines. Another common question I get about these crafting professions is, do I have to level them? Is it required for my character? Now, technically speaking, you do not have to really concern yourself with any of the crafting professions except for one, which is mandatory on every character in my opinion, and that is alchemy. And the reason I say that alchemy is so important is because of the medicinal use passive that enhances the duration of any potion buffs that you get from drinking potions while in combat. The reason this is so important is because many of your character builds in ESO will get key or very, very, very important buffs from their potions, and without this passive, those buffs will have downtime, so it'll make your character weaker for not having that passive. Now, if we dive a little bit deeper into the professions, I'm actually going to start with woodworking, clothing, blacksmithing, and jewelry crafting because they all pretty much work the same. Now, each of these professions have raw materials that can be collected around the world, whether they be different types of wood, ores, etc. These materials need to be refined to work with, so refining batches of 10 of these raw materials will net you ingots, wood, cloth, etc. that can be used to craft gear. For jewelry crafting, you also have to refine the improvement materials, but I will go over improvement materials in a little bit. You can also get refined materials by deconstructing looted gear, which will break down into various crafted materials. Now, when you go to craft a piece of gear, you need to combine a bunch of refined materials with a style material, and that style material determines the look of a piece. Various style materials can be purchased and learned through on your crafter via motif. So that will basically allow you to create gear in different styles, and then you would just need to buy the style material to actually create in that style. But at the start, every character just starts by knowing their race's motif or gear appearance, and these basic materials can be purchased from the various crafting vendors milling around the crafting areas in your major cities. Now, the more refined materials you use when you create a piece of gear, the higher level the gear piece will be. Now, each type of refined material will work until a certain level, so you can combine more and more of that material, but at a certain point it'll basically stop and you won't get any more level gaining. So in that case, you'll have to start using the next level or the next tier of higher refined materials, and putting points into your passives will allow you to do that. Now, besides style and refined materials, you can also use trait gems to give your gear pieces extra bonuses. Now, before you do this, you need to research that corresponding trait. Now, what do I mean by research? So let's say throughout your adventures, you pick up an infused robe and you want to learn how to craft infused robes. With that robe in your bank or inventory, simply go to a crafting station for clothing, select the research tab, scroll over to robes, and click learn on the trait that you want to learn. Now, the item is going to be destroyed in the process, but after a set period of time, you will learn how to create infused robes. If you want to learn more traits quicker, there is a passive in all 4 of these crafting lines that will allow you to research more items and reduce the duration of that research timer. Now, research is extremely important to start as soon as you can, as researching gets exponentially longer as you research more and more traits for a specific gear slot. Crafted gear will that also grants set bonuses, which are also basically extra bonuses for wearing multiple pieces of a certain set, also require a certain number of traits per piece known to even craft it in the first place. And also, again, knowing a gear trait will allow you to transmute or change the trait of an item you have from one trait to another via the transmutation system implemented in Clockwork City. I have a guide on my channel if you want to learn more about that. But you must have a trait research in order to transmute to that trait. So as you can see, even if you never plan to craft gear, researching traits is still incredibly important because of transmutation. Now, in addition to all this stuff, gear quality can be improved, which will cause the gear to basically give you a better overall bonus. So simply clicking the improvement tab and using the various upgrade materials required to upgrade your gear's quality will allow you to upgrade it. Be careful though, because not using enough of the upgrade materials could cause your gear to not upgrade successfully and be destroyed in the process. There's a passive in each of these skill lines that will lower the amount of upgrade materials required for a successful upgrade, so maxing this out on your toons that will be crafting gear is highly recommended. Now, these professions will also allow you to create furniture in your house as well, but you need to know certain recipes before you can even create them. Now, with those 4 professions out of the way, we're going to move into our next one, and that is enchanting. So as I stated earlier, enchanting is the combination or the combining of various different types of stones to create enchants for your armor, weapons, and jewelry, basically adding more power to them. Aspect runes, which are the circle ones, determine the rarity and the strength of an enchant. Potency, or the square ones, determine the level of the enchant. And your essence runes, which are like your triangle-looking ones, determine what effects the enchant have and whether or not it can even be applied to jewelry, weapons, or gear. All 3 must be combined for a successful enchant. Now, one note about potency runes, though, is that there are 2 types of potency runes, additive and subtractive. Additive runes are going to end in a Ra and will grant your character a positive effect or boost, such as increasing a resource or dealing direct damage to an opponent, while subtractive runes end in De, which will decrease incoming damage or cause weapon enchants to deal damage and then cause you to recover a resource. So basically kind of like steal some from your opponent. Now, when creating an enchant, I recommend looking up the recipes on one of the wikis to make sure you're creating the exact enchant you want. It'll just make the process a lot easier. Provisioning, pretty straightforward, involves creating food and drink buffs by utilizing recipes and combining the ingredients listed on the recipes. So simply put, you learn the recipe, get the ingredients required, you make the food. Doesn't get much simpler than that. Now, alchemy is going to combine various different solvents and ingredients or reagents to create potions or poisons. The type of solvent you use determines the level of the potion or poison and whether or not it is a potion or poison in the first place, while the reagents will determine what the potion or poison does. Eating a reagent will teach you the effect, one of the effects that it has, but combining them will ultimately unlock and show more of their effects. So when creating potions or poisons, again, I recommend looking up the various effects of the reagents on one of the wikis to make sure you're creating the exact potion or poison you want. And once you learn more and more of the reagent effects, you'll be able to easily see in game which ones are going to combine well for the exact kind of potion you want. Now, another thing that you can do with these crafting professions is get certified, which will allow you to complete writs. To get certified to complete writs, you're going to want to talk to Milaneth of the Fighters Guild for clothing, woodworking, and blacksmithing, and Danel Teleno and the Mages Guild for enchanting, provisioning, and alchemy. These 2 can be found in Volkel Guard, Daggerfall, and Davin's Watch. To be certified in jewelry crafting, you're going to want to talk to Felarian and Alinor. And these NPCs do have a basic quest that you're going to have to do, and then they will certify you to do writs. Or if your crafting is leveled up a bit already, you can skip these quests. You'll see that option in the dialogue and immediately get certified. Being certified, like I said, allows you to do writs, which are daily quests that you can do for each of the crafting crafting skill lines where you simply craft something, turn in those items, and you get a bunch of rewards. It'll give you a boost of inspiration, some gold, and the potential for other things such as repair kits, which allow you to repair your gear, materials, surveys, which are basically like treasure mats to huge stores of raw mats. Do not delete these. They're very, very good and net you a lot of materials. You can also get ornate or intricate items or master writs. Now, master writs are basically more advanced writs where you are going to create the item required by the writ. You turn it in and receive vouchers, which can be turned in at Rolus Halalu for various items of great value. Or you can sell the master writs to other players on guild traders when those can sell for a pretty penny. Now, doing your writs is an easy way to make some gold as well as leveling up your crafting professions if they aren't already at max level, so I recommend doing these every day. But now, with all that out of the way, let's get to the juicy part of the guide, and that is the best way to level all of these professions. Now, woodworking, clothing, blacksmithing, and enchanting are all going to kind of level similarly. Deconstruction is the name of the game here. Simply deconstructing looted items is going to net significantly more experience than actually crafting things, especially if the item is intricate, which is going to grant even more experience. While leveling, just simply deconstruct all gear and enchants you don't need, or you end up, let's say you wear it for a little bit on your character and then you don't need it anymore, deconstruct it. You'll very quickly gain inspiration points while leveling to max as well as materials. In addition, doing daily writs, as I stated earlier, will help you get even more inspiration points to help level these crafting guides. Now, if you want to power level these, you have basically two options. Have a friend craft you tons of gear and enchants for you to deconstruct, or craft them in an already maxed out tune and feed them to your alt. So for enchanting, you could basically just like feed your low level tune a ton of cheap costing CP 150 or CP 160 runes and have them deconstruct those. And for blacksmithing, clothing, and enchanting, you can either do the same thing and feed your low level tons of CP 150, 160 gear, but that can get pricey really fast. So I'd instead maybe recommend creating like some gear starting with iron and scaling that gear up as your alt's crafting profession levels. So, using blacksmithing as an example, start by making a ton of iron daggers. And then once your alt tune reaches high enough of a level to get metalworking, which allows you to work with a higher metal, get that to rank 2. Then have your main crafter feed the alt a ton of steel daggers, which is the next quality metal, deconstruct those, deconstruct those until the next metalworking rank, etc. Up until rank 3, and then you guys get the point. Just basically kind of follow that formula until you get blacksmithing to rank 50, and you can apply these logic to all three of the gear crafting lines with their specific materials. But honestly, through my experience, especially if it's your first character, you're going to basically get these to 50 from just your leveling adventures. The amount of gear you pick up through dungeons and adventuring and stuff, you'll have these to 50 in no time. They're really not too hard to level up. Now looking into jewelry crafting, it's very similar to the professions I just went over. So again, deconstruction is the name of the game here. But the best way to power level jewelry crafting, assuming that, you don't want to just level it up through, getting gear as you get through dungeons and you get loot and stuff and deconstruct that jewelry. If you really want to power level this, the best way to do it is actually through PvP. So once you have a reservoir of alliance points built up, you're going to want to head to the elite vendor and your faction's base camp in Cyrodiil. Then you want to purchase a ton of the unidentified elite jewelry boxes and just deconstruct all that jewelry. If you don't PvP though, your best bet is just going to be, like I said, run dungeons and deconstruct all the jewelry from the dungeons, and after a while your jewelry crafting will be rank 50. Moving on to provisioning. Leveling up provisioning is basically done by creation. There is no deconstruction here, so we have to actually craft things to level this up. You can combine ingredients you find throughout your adventures with recipes and level it up if it's your first tune. Or if you want to power level provisioning, you're going to have to find 4 different recipes of various skill ranges, and those 4 recipes will pretty much take you to max level. The rarity of the recipe doesn't matter, so you could just kind of use whatever recipes are cheapest to acquire, but I think green recipes will probably be the best here since I think they require the least amount of ingredients. You're going to want to find a recipe that creates food or drink that scales from 15 to 19, 25 to 29, 35 to 39, and 45 to 49. So those are the 4 different recipes you're going to want to find with those various level ranges. You're going to want to learn your first recipe. Simply create that food or drink of that recipe until provisioning rank 20. Then put a skill point recipe improvement, create the second recipe until rank 30, place another skill point recipe improvement, and rinse and repeat until rank 50. The needed ingredients for your recipes is going to basically kind of vary based on what recipes you know. and you can find recipes or these materials on Guild Traders or scattered throughout various places in Tamriel. Finally, we have alchemy. Leveling up alchemy to max level is actually pretty cheap and very, very quick. To level up alchemy fast, you're going to want to create a ton of potions and poisons. For our method, we're going to go with 2 of the cheapest alchemy reagents, spider eggs and scrib jelly. These can combine with various poison solvents to make a ton of poisons for really, really cheap and level up your alchemy very fast. What you'll want to do is start off with the spider eggs and scrib jelly and the base poison solvent grease. Make as many poisons as you can until level 10. Rank up your solvent proficiency passive, then using the same ingredients, use Ichor instead. Continue to do that, level up to rank 20, put another point in solvent proficiency, using the same ingredients, upgrade the solvent to slime, continue to 30, etc., etc. You guys kind of see the process from all of the professions I've discussed. They kind of follow the same thought process. At rank 5 of solvent proficiency, though, you can basically create CP10 potions using pitch bile and just create these until you eventually reach max level 50. You don't have to you don't have to rank up solvent proficiency past 5, and then boom, you'll have 50 alchemy. At that point, you can just either reset your skill points and just get medicinal use, or keep the points in alchemy and make Datun an alchemist. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. Elder Scrolls Online Complete Crafting Guide. Over and done with. With this guide now, you guys will know all of the basics behind all of the crafting professions, as well as a little bit of a deeper look into them and how to power level all of these crafting professions from 1 to 50, or just level them slowly throughout your adventuring process. If this guide helped you and if you enjoyed it, I would appreciate if you left a like on it. If you have any questions regarding crafting, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll answer it as soon as I can. And for more great Elder Scrolls Online content, as well as other great gaming content, I'd appreciate if you hit that sub button, as well as hit the bell to make sure you keep notifications on. If you want to watch me live on Twitch, please head over to twitch.tv/dotsgaming and drop a follow there, as I do stream there quite frequently. And if you want to help support the channel, you can choose to join and become a sponsor by clicking the join button below this video, or you can check out my Patreon. We have perks that start out at as little as $1 to help support the channel, and you get a ton of benefits from that as well. So I want to thank you guys so much for stopping by today's video. I very, very much appreciate it. As always, I'm Dots Gaming, and I'll see you all in the next one.